Greetings everyone, I'm Kevin and it's time to do a little July reading wrap up. So in July I had quite a good reading month in some ways. I read a total of 20 books in July, which is always like a very high number to do. It's far from the most amount of books that I have ever read in a month, but 20 books is still something that I'm very happy. When I manage to read 20 books in 1 month, it's something that I'm very happy about. Like, I'm also happy if I read 15 books, and I am trying to get better at being happy with 10 books or less than 10 books. But 20 books, I feel good about that. And the total amount of pages that I read is 5,986. Like, I almost read a total of 6,000 words. No, 6,000 words is not that much. 6,000 pages, however, is quite a lot, And so the average page count is just a little bit over 300 pages. And the longest book that I read was 760 pages long, and it was Adnan. And the shortest book that I read this month was 53 pages long, and it was Princess Ever After. Then, how many stars did I give out? I give out a total of 66 stars, and that is an average of 3.3, which is very, average. Like, a 3-star rating is, for me, like when I give out a 3-star rating, it's like this, I won't remember this book. If I give it a 2-star, I will remember the book for bad reasons. If it's a 4-star, I will remember it for good reasons. If it's 5 books, it's a book that I will think about for like long time. Like, it's a book that is going to stay with me in the best sort of way. A 1-star is a book that will stay with me for the worst possible way. So with having, read 20 books in 1 month, and the average rating is 3 stars. 3.3 stars. That is a very meh month. Because of that, 3 stars isn't horrible, but it's not great, I would have much rather had, a 4.5 average. Like, who doesn't want that for a reading month, But 3.3 is what we landed on. And the highest star rating that I gave was 5 stars, which for the first time in 2021, I think I have only given 5 stars to 1 book. I usually have 2 5-stars. Sometimes I have 5 stars. But this month I only had 1. But the funny thing is, with keep in mind that the average star rating is 3.3 stars. The lowest star rating that I gave a book out of the 20 books that I read in July, the lowest star rating is a 3-star. I gave 3 stars to 11 books. So that is 9 books that got 4 stars, because 3 is the lowest. I gave it to 11. I gave 1 book 5 stars. That means that 9 books for 4 stars, which I gave yeah. And then we're on to genres. This is honestly also something that I'm very shocked by, and it's the fact that I am actually, now that I think about it, it's not weird, but for the first time I read, the most read genre of a month is historical fiction. And the reason for that is because I had this little vlog up here where I did through the decades, where I only read books from the 1900s, 1 book for different decades. And not all books were written or published in the 1900s. Some of them had a connection to that time period, and that's what counts. So you can check that out if you want to. Vlog is also a bit of self-care, taking care of yourself, beautiful scenery, environment stuff, I guess. So when I think about it, having historical as the most read genre on this list isn't really weird. I only read for historical fiction because one that I read for through the decade is a contemporary book, but it has a connection to the past, which is why I counted it. But so the most read genre is historical fiction with 4 read books, and then I have romance, of course, with 3 books, and I also had contemporary with 3 books and fantasy with 3 books. And then I had middle grade and dystopian at 2 books each. Dystopian is the Hunger Games series, book 1 and 2. So it's not like 2 different dystopians. It's the same story, the first and the second book in a trilogy. And then we have mystery and science fiction with 1 book read each, which I think is a little bit sad. Like with mystery, I never read mystery. I think this is the first mystery that I ever read. And for science fiction, I love science fiction. I need to get myself more science fiction. Like when I do my next haul, like I'm on a book buying ban until the 25th of August, because on the 25th of August I get my paycheck for returning for, you know, full-time work. So I will be getting more money for my work as a teacher. I teach Swedish and English at upper secondary school, if you're curious. So I will probably treat myself to some science fiction at like the end of this month, because it's August now, and I'm really excited about that. Like all the books I'm gonna buy, I am very excited about that. But let's just continue on to the format. The format that I read the most is audio and physical book. So what I do a lot of times is I read a book. I have the physical copy in front of me and I have the audiobook in my ears, because I find it a lot easier to get to read if I have input through like eyes and ears. Sometimes when I put audio and physical book, I read a chapter or I read several chapters in physical copy, and then when I take walks I listen to it, or when I work out I listen to the audiobook. So I can do either reading both books at the same time, both physical and audiobook at the same time, or I read the physical copy and the audiobook copy of the same book, but not at the same time. So I can read 1 chapter of a book and then listen to the next 5 chapters, and then I go back to the physical copy and, you know, go back and forth. So that's just like audio and physical book, that's what it means. And for audiobook and physical book, I read 9 books through both audio and physical. And then I have 5 books that I only listen to the audiobook for. And then I have 4 books that I only read physically, 1 book that I read through audio and ebook, and then 1 ebook. So that's kind of the formats going for this. Then we're on to language, and I read 17 books in English, no surprise there, but I read 1 book in Swedish and 2 books in German. I am very happy about that, because I really wanted to get into more German, to read more German. That is something that I wanted to challenge myself with my reading, because I know more than I think. And so a good way, like if you are multilingual like me and you want to keep one of your languages alive, maybe you live in a country where you don't really hear that other language that much, by reading it and listening to it and, you know, watching shows and TV from that country speaking that language, it helps keeping the language alive, because unfortunately you can get stunted. Like even though you're fluent in a language, having not spoken it for a while, it's not like a muscle memory, because you can know the words, you can know so much, but it won't come out because you're not used to forming the words anymore, or thinking about the grammar structure, because it's come fluently for you, like it's just flowed. But having not spoken that language for a while, you can get very you can kind of choke on the words. Like I know the sentence, but I can't get it out because, you know, like a lot of things. So a good way to keep a language alive in yourself is reading it, listening to it, just spending as much time as you can with that language present in your life. And then we're moving on to my last and favorite category, and it is countries visited. In July, I visited 8 countries. I visited England, the US, Australia, Sweden, Norway, Japan, Greece, and Nigeria. So I always love that I have a little, you know, countries visited in books in 2021 because I love traveling. It's something that I love to do, and I love, you know, I used to travel almost every year, and usually I went to Germany because of course I would go to Germany. Well, that was it for this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed this and subscribe if you haven't. And until next time, good reading. Bye.